It's a great day, today. Just awfully proud of the guys that we're bringing into our program combined with the guys that signed in December. I think it's got a chance to be a really special group of people. You all know me well enough now that I'm not prone to hyperbole when it comes to these kinds of things. Obviously, they're all young and have a tremendous amount of work to do, but this is the byproduct of relationships that have been built over multiple years. Today we welcome Knox to Virginia Tech. First and foremost, it's a guy that we've been tracking for some time. Obviously, we've recruited that school for a while, had a lot of success, or he's had a lot of success, played at an early age. We knew that there was a chance we may find ourselves in this situation with, a limited number of quarterbacks. Even though we had four, we knew there was a chance that this could happen. We tried our best to inoculate ourselves by continuing to evaluate guys and be prepared. In some ways, this happened now is better than it happening at the end of spring, so that we actually have an opportunity to fill one of those spots. So excited to get him in here and get him going. Jaden Cunningham as well, big defensive tackle. We have obviously that was the point of emphasis for us to fill those needs on the defensive tackle front, some place we've been really thin. Jaden's a bigger body youngster that we brought on an official visit some time ago, and are happy that he's joining us hopefully in the summertime. And then the one that probably everybody wants to talk about is Doug Nestor. And congratulations to Vance Vice. We do pretty quickly, we hand off recruiting to position coaches. So we have regions. Pretty quickly, we hand those off to positions. So, our assistant coaches are in charge of their positions, their recruitment, the development of those positions. And, this Doug signing with Virginia Tech is a byproduct of the job Vance did with Doug. It's also a byproduct of the way Doug was raised and the values that he has. A fantastic family that I think, distance played a factor in terms of them staying close together. But, I think the biggest thing was his relationship with Coach Vice and his belief in us. And quite frankly, when you look at the offensive class that's come in, it's not hard to figure out why we are becoming more attractive to these types of players. You look at what's happened here statistically over the last 3 years in terms of where those offenses have ranked, some with veteran players, some with young players. Where they've ranked in the annals of Virginia Tech history, it's pretty impressive. When you think about total offense in the history of Virginia Tech the last 3 years, we've ranked 1, 5, and 8. And when you start to talk about that with young people, they start to understand what we can do. We've ranked in total touchdowns 1st, 4th, and 7th in the last 3 years. As far as wide receivers wanting to come here, we've ranked 1st, 2nd, and 4th in receptions per year. And it goes on and on, passing yards wise, passing touchdowns 1st, 2nd, and 6th. And I think that's become appealing. Now we've got to be better, absolutely. And combine that with running the football. I think that's been a point of emphasis for us, and we'll be continuing forward. And it starts up front. And this offensive line crew has got a chance to really help push that forward, combined with the guys that we have here. So I'm excited. Our kids are back, obviously, in school and off-season program, doing well. We've got a jump start on the 2020 class, and things are really going well. We're in the midst of self-evaluation. We've been through that some in terms of our program and obviously scheme, but everything as a whole, as a team. When you come off a season that was not what you wanted it to be, I think it'd be wise to make sure you check yourself and go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and that's what we're in the process of doing and what we're doing. And I like the way everybody's responding. So fire away.
Raise your hand. We'll get your microphone started.
Talking about Nestor, he had been committed to Ohio State for so long, and as the story goes, he said he was 2 days away from enrolling at Ohio State, and then the news came out about Urban getting ready to retire. Since he had been recruited or had been committed to Ohio State for so long, did you guys again have to sort of reestablish this relationship with him, or had Vance sort of been in contact with him a little bit?
No, we just continued it. He came to a game this fall, early in the season. He was really focused on winning a state championship. We have recruited the young man since he was 14 years old. So we had a pretty good baseline relationship. And we just continued to develop, not being pushy, wanting the kid to be happy, knowing that we had a great opportunity to provide him something here that was unique and different. And, if it was something he was interested in, we were willing to go down that road.
And the 6'6", 304-pound frame speaks for itself, but what is it about him that makes him so appealing and head and shoulders above other recruits of his caliber, I guess?
Well, I don't know how he compares to everybody else. I know a lot about him. I know he's a good student. He's diligent. He stayed. Part of the reason he stayed back was to play basketball with his friends this season, which I think is pretty cool. Also, he gets up at 5 in the morning to get his lift in. So he's a big guy, but he's not. He's a big, driven person, and he cares about relationships. And he is a hard worker. And you combine that with some talent. He's got size and athleticism and drive, and I think he was raised really well by his parents. And I think you have a chance for something special.
With him, is it with guys that are committed and are trying to kind of flip? Is it harder to get a sense of where they're at, kind of leading up to it? Does it present different challenges than recruiting a guy that, earlier in the process that's committed or something like that? How is this kind of process different?
Yeah, well, like the whole commitment deal and flip deal. If a guy's going to visit other places, he's not committed. Let's be real about this. That's not an overnight flip. A miracle happened. A Hail Mary. Fuente walks in and one home visit, and all of a sudden, that's not how it works. And, occasionally, I'm sure it does. But, it's whatever it says on people's Twitter pages or not on their Twitter pages, if they're out actively looking and still trying to make a decision, then that's not committed. And that's how we handle those things. And just we're never going to be pushy. We're never going to be demanding. We're never going to get in somebody's home or force ourselves into somebody's home that doesn't want us in there. But if people are interested and continue to be interested, then we'll be there.
And with Vance, you mentioned him and the job he did. 4 quality prospects all in the same class. How challenging is that to bring that amount of talent in one class at the same kind of position? Just the job he did this cycle.
Well, he has a unique style that appeals to our kind of people, and I believe all these guys are our kind of people. And when he gets in there with whether they're highly rated or not. We have 2 guys playing tackle for us that nobody wanted, that I think are pretty special, But whether they're highly rated or not, when he gets in there with our kind of people, then he does pretty well. And, it doesn't take us very long to figure out what they are and who they are, who those kind of guys are, and we don't let other people tell us who they are. But we feel like when there's a match there, whether they're highly recruited or not, that we can get in there and duke it out with anybody.
What is his unique style?
Oh, I don't know if I can describe it. He's a little bit country, but he's also the valedictorian of his high school class. He'll never tell you that, but he's also got more degrees on his wall than anybody else in that hallway. So he's a highly intelligent guy that has a unique presence, I guess. I wouldn't call it a shtick because that implies that it's phony. But he has a unique presence that's built on some very fundamental core values and hard work and toughness and pushing through tough times. And he tells those kids the truth, and the ones that want to hear the truth are genuinely drawn to him, you know. And I've been with him for a long time, and I know how his players feel about him. It's pretty special.
No offense, but with all those degrees, what's he doing coaching football?
I don't know. You have to ask him. You know, I don't know. I don't know why. You know, I think he's just drawn to the game, and he's got a passion for it. It's always been part of his life, and it's hard to let go of it. It's probably what he'd say.
Coach, not to take any credit away from Coach Weiss, but Dax Holyfield claims that he was somewhat responsible for
the worst word in the English language, but.
You've talked about Dax's passion and how quickly. What kind of a role did some of your young guys play in selling this program?
Well, listen, we take our kids that come in here and we put them in front of our players, and we leave the room. We take our parents and put them in front of them and put them in front of our players. Say, have at it. Go for it. We do that with our junior days, and because our kids sell the program. And Dax is one of many young, enthusiastic guys that has done a good job helping us. If nobody in our program knows more about being recruited than Dax, okay, because he only drew it out for about 6 years, okay, 24 visits to Virginia Tech later, he finally committed. So if anybody should know anything about it, he should. So I just saw him in the hallway a couple hours ago, and I told him the exact same thing. Of course, he was busy patting himself on the back, but he does deserve credit. Our players do deserve credit. They do a great job telling the kids what it's like and what we're doing and where we're going.
You mentioned in your remarks about Knox that you guys had anticipated perhaps having some openings at quarterback. Was that anticipation based just on common sense, or was it based on previous conversations with Josh and or Hendon?
No, it was just, you know, we felt like there was a chance that that could happen. And you can't sell that to high school kids. Like, you can't walk in there and say, hey, I know you got 20 other offers, but, you know, we may have something happen. You know, it just doesn't work. So, no, it was just, you know, we today's day and age and where we're at, you got 4 guys in there that all want to go play. Like, you know, it's and a couple of them are close to graduating and that sort of stuff. You understand that those are the chances, and you try and deal with it as fairly and as openly as honestly with those kids as humanly possible, and help them, you know, make good decisions. So it was based on, in short, you know, that we figured that there was a chance that something could happen. We really figured. You know, if we were betting, we would have said maybe after the spring. It happened sooner, so then it opened up an opportunity for us to investigate a couple people we've kept an eye on.
You mentioned already getting to work on the 2020 class. When you wrap this up, are there positions of need you feel like that you need to go forward? Is there any focuses that you have in that class that
For
you'd
20?
like to hit? Yeah.
Yeah, like I tell, you know, managing the number is the most stressful thing that I do. It's just there are a lot of variables in there in terms of where we're at each position, and now with some of the other things the rules that have come about, makes between early entry in the NFL, all that sort of stuff makes it a little more difficult to get a judge on that. You know, we've basically started out with, you know, we're essentially looking for one of everything. That's what I've told our staff in terms of the number for 20. I'm sure that'll change 500 times by the time we get through it. It's just so hard to keep it in stone. But I don't, you know, I think it's got a chance to be balanced, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it's got a chance to be, you know, this year was not very balanced, right? If you look at the defensive signing classes, defensive tackle, a couple DBs and a linebacker, right? So I think next year's got a chance to be more even across the board, particularly on the defensive side.
Is it nice to get to that state? I know the first couple of years, a ton of receivers or a ton of offensive linemen. Is it nice to get to it?
Yeah, I don't like that. Like, in a perfect world, it would be spread out like a peanut butter on a piece of bread, you know, just nice and thin, smooth layer. But when you get, what happens is when you get too many guys in one class, you get locked into having to sign 4 or 5 wide receivers again, because they're all locked in there together. And you'd like to have it spread out, and hopefully we can get to that. We haven't yet.
On the 2020, how much of a jump now is it now with the early signing day? Like, can you tell a difference? I mean, now with kind of, this is the second year. I mean, are you getting a more substantial jump on the class? Does it feel different?
Well, I do think it's just all pushed forward. You know, it's just, you know, we did 2, I mean, I'm not 100% positive this number's exactly correct, but I think we only did 2 spring official visits last year, 2 people. I don't know what it'll be this spring. I'd like to continue to fight to keep that as low as possible, because I want to try and push it back the best we can. But there's no doubt that it's still moving forward in terms of the calendar. It's just, you know, I don't know what the percentages are. Y'all probably know better than I do of what percentage of student athletes signed in December this year compared to last year. But I feel like it's just going to continue to move up, and there'll be a few guys that sign in February, and everybody's going to sign in December. That's how I feel.
Are you still tweaking things, like as you kind of go along here in strategy? I mean, how much changed from year to year, last year to this year, and, you know, going forward?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so odd because in January we're not doing official visits. We're doing all juniors, so we're having really small. That's probably the biggest thing we have really drawn our focus in. You know, quite honestly, because this is how we're going to have to win with very small personal junior days. It's going to cause us more Saturdays and more time to work, but keeping our numbers small when we're working with our young people, our juniors, so that we can spend more time with them as opposed to bringing in 120. Now, you still have to service a large number of people at times, but finding a way to continue to have those small groups has been really effective for us, and we're still tweaking that part of it. Like, part of that's unique to Virginia Tech, you know, and us, and how we're going to win those battles. Like, we're not equipped to handle staff-wise and facility-wise to handle a humongous group of people. We're just not there.
You mentioned the most stressful part of the job is handling the numbers. After these 3 young men are signed and your previous attrition, where are you numbers-wise? Might you do some more business either with graduate transfers or in the transfer portal?
Sure. We have a couple of guys, a couple guys. Yes, we may still deal with a few more. It won't be a lot, but there's still a little bit out there.
Anybody else for Coach off that? Any specific position that you'd be targeting for those spots?
Yes, but I'm going to respectfully decline to tell you.